Well, welcome to Level 1, Session 3, and this session is all about saving. So I'm going to open my first workbook now, so I can save it. Now saving it will override the previous version. So I'm just going to close the one that I was working on and open up a new version. But I can, instead of just overwriting the previous version by going to File, Save, I can save it in a different location using File, Save As. So this will allow me to save it in a different location or a different place or a different name, a different file type. So as soon as you can see, Save As, we have got the current folder being shown on the top right. And we've also got my current folders, the ones that I have previously been working on, and files shown there as well. These are all the files and folders which are included in my Excel 1 folder. So you can change the name up here in the top right. It's currently called My First Workbook. Now what I like to do when I'm saving, especially when I'm saving bigger spreadsheets, is to put the date in here. So let's say the date was June the 1st, 2021. So you could say June the 1st, 2021, but it looks a bit ungainly because it just doesn't work for me. It's all in words. So what I could also say is 06, 01, and 2018. So we've got the month, then the day, then the year, the American format. I don't do it this way either. Well, I'm British, so maybe I do it this way. Day, month, year. So 01, 06, 2018. And I don't do it that way. What I prefer to do is save it using dates in the Japanese format. So not the British, not the American format, but the Japanese. So the year. So you could put 2021, but I just generally put the 2 digits here, so 21, followed by the month, 06, and followed by the date, 01. And the reason I like to save it in this format is if you then have all of the files in alphabetical order, they will also be in date order, because we have the greatest year, then the month, then the day. That's the way the Japanese system do it, and it's exactly the same order as in the alphabet. And that's great. Goes from the biggest to the small, year, month, day. And if you sort it in alphabetical order, it will be sorted in date order. But grouping all of My First Workbooks together, all of the files of a similar name. Anyway, that's by the by. That's how I like to do it. So if you're happy with the file name, then click on Save. Now, if you want to save it into a radically different place, or if you just prefer the comfort of the dialog box, which quite frankly I do, then click on the Browse button or click on More Options. They'll give you exactly the same dialog box. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new folder. So I'm going to click New Folder at the top. It might be different in your version, depending on what version of Windows you've got. I'm going to call this Level 1 Session 3. I'm going to go into the Level 1 Session 3 folder. And before I save, I'm going to click on the Save As type to have a look at the file types that we can save as. We've previously had a look at file types we can load as, open up files. Now let's have a look at how we can save. So the default, Excel Workbook .xlsx, that's the standard. The second one, Excel Macro Enabled Workbook .xlsm. So XLS means Excel, M means macros. You only need that if you're going to be using macros, and we'll have a look at macros later on. So for most times you should be saving as .xlsx. Except I don't. I save as this third one, generally binary, Excel Binary Workbook .xlsb, B for binary. As far as I can see, there's not that much difference in terms of reliability of opening these workbooks, but there is a difference in terms of the space, the hard drive space that it occupies. XLSB files occupy a lot less file space. it compresses the file, which actually makes it harder for programs other than Excel to read. But I don't want programs other than Excel to read them. So I generally stick to XLSB, and XLSB also allows me to save as macros as well, so it's my standard. We have an Excel 97-2003 workbook, so don't use that unless you are creating a file that's going to be shared on somebody who's still using Excel 2003, 2002, 2000, 1997. But how many times are you going to be doing that now? Excel 2003 is over a decade and a half old, so very rare. So generally you'll be saving to the top 3. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, this Excel 97 to 2003, it may just happen occasionally, or you might be asked to save it into a 97-2003 workbook, but very rare. So save it to as an Excel workbook or save it to a binary workbook. So I'm just going to save it as my first workbook and click save. Oh, and I'm going to put the date. So the date 21/06/01 for the 1st of June 2021. So click save, and there we have our new file name. Now there is another very usable file type, and that is saving to PDF, and you can see really right near the bottom of the list. Now PDFs were introduced ages ago by Adobe. We're talking in the 1990s, and there was a very expensive program, still is, called Adobe Acrobat, which allows you to create PDFs. However, in Excel 2007 there was an add-in that you could get for free, which allowed you to save spreadsheets and Word documents as PDFs. And in Excel 2010, it came in as standard. So now in this Excel 2019 version, it's still there. So if I save this as a PDF, so click save, you notice that it's got checked the phrase open file after publishing. Let's see what happens. So click save. It saved it, and it opens it up in whatever native reader you've got for PDF. So it could be Microsoft Edge, it could be Adobe Acrobat Reader, it could be almost anything. But here you can see my spreadsheet, badly formatted, but we'll have a look at the formatting in future sessions, saved as a PDF. Now there are advantages to this. It's in a format that is fixed, so I can't go in easily anyway and make changes. Well, you can open it up, say in Word, but it's more like a presentation tool. But bear in mind, when you save a file as PDF, it does not save it as a spreadsheet. So we saw earlier that you can't open up natively PDFs. Doesn't work. So if you're going to save a spreadsheet as a PDF, make sure you save it as a spreadsheet as well. Now there are 2 other major file types that I want to just talk about. The first is the tab delimited. So here we see text tab delimited, so that saves it as a notebook application. Or maybe a comma delimited, which saves it separated with commas instead of tabs. Fairly specialised, it's just useful to know that they exist if you need to save it into a form that you can open up in Notepad. But the vast majority of the times you'll be saving as a workbook, a macro-enabled workbook, or a binary workbook. They're the major file types. So you could create PDFs if you want to send it to somebody else, but it's a presentation tool. They can't change the values. It's largely read-only. So most of the time, just stick to the top 3.